Hello, friends. It's John Connor III of episode 215 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, your premier Kitty Pryde Lockheed and Magic podcast. And today we're going to review Wonder Man Volume 3, issue 5. And then we're going to review Wonder Man, the TV series, finish that. And then with spoilers, Magic and Colossus 1, Wolverine Volume 8, 15, Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, 23. Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant, number one. Ultimate Wolverine 14, and very quickly reviews for Ultimate Endgame 2, Planet of the Apes versus Fantastic Four 1, and then Godzilla Infinity Roar, number one. So we're gonna what is happening to me? We're gonna dive deep into Wonder Man Volume 3, number 5. And I got this from Mile High Comics. It says a very fine, or not very fine, it's fine, and which I don't know. I read this thing and I didn't see anything that didn't make it near mint, but sure. I'm sure the Mangs I got it for a discounted price, so fine by me. And this came out June 2007, which means if we get a nice previously on page. Previously, Hollywood's favorite superhero Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, has a new mission to rehabilitate the supervillain known as Lady Killer. It all began with Simon was doing lunch with his former agent, now a documentary filmmaker, Neil Sarion, discussing the topic of good versus evil. Simon stated his belief that there's nobody that can't become good given the chance. Suddenly, the duo found themselves in the midst of a superpowered assassination attempt against a fellow restaurant patron, movie producer Ken Flavin. Simon managed to capture the weapon wielding attacker who called herself Lady Killer. Neil posed a challenge to Simon to put his money where his mouth is, transform this villain into a hero, with Neil filming the action as a documentary and Flavin providing financial backing. In effect, Wonder Man and Lady Killer would star in a real-life superpowered Pimeon. Simon enlists the help of his friends Carol Danvers, the high-flying Avenger known as Miss Marvel, and Hank McCoy, the blue-furred X-Man called Beast. To aid his mission, they take Lady Killer to a safe house and begin to train her in mind and body to become the hero they feel she can be. In the process, Lady Killer, Huan is her real name, and Simon become emotionally attached, making her reformation all the more important. Little does Huan know that a mysterious group called the Nobility has its own agenda, one that includes using her to destroy the Avengers. You gotta skip a couple pages to get to the credits. My Fair Superhero, the conclusion. Writer Peter David, rest in peace. Pencils Andrew Carey, inks Victor Olazaba, with Andrew Carey doing inks, which I've noticed in today's comics. There's a lot more penciler inker, so artists, and I wonder what spurred that happening. Rob Schuwager and Solo Colors A Crossing and A Street are the colorists. Letters, Art Monkeys Dave Laffier. Production, Marvel Bullpen, sure. Editor, John Barber. Joe Quesada, editor-in-chief. And Dan Buckley, publisher. Issue 3 of the series was actually colored by Rob Schrager. Good to post credit him. Issue opens with Simon, which after the TV show, it's hard to not think of him as Timon. I should just leave. There's nothing here for me anymore except memories. People long gone, places fallen to disrepair or raise or gone entirely. What's the point of any of it? Still, I suppose it could be argued that I have a sort of holy obligation to all of them. The war has moved on, forgotten them, co-signed them to the dust of the ages. If I forget them, that none of it matters, none of it. The problem is, I'm not sure if any of it matters, that even if I do remember it. Are brave actions their own reward, or do they only mean anything if people are around to commemorate them? Like trees not making a sound in a forest if no one is around to hear them. We see Simon in his full ionic purple glaze. Of course, there's all kinds of bravery, as when Huan spoke of love. For her, that was a brave thing to do. When she said of those people she rescued, I saved them for you. I didn't give a damn about them, only about you. She chose the only way she could to show me that she was falling in love with me. It was so unexpected, to me at least, to others though. And we see Beast and Simon are chit-chatting, best of pals. And then Carol brings Lady Fair into the room. And well, maybe she's debuting a new costume here. I This is the only issue I've read, so I don't know what she looked like prior. And Simon and Beast start a game of adjectives, which me and good friend of the show, Greg, like to do. And so Simon's like, "You look amazing, spectacular, incredible, uncanny." Uncanny? First thing that came to mind. And then Simon's like, "You look fantastic." And then Hank continues, "Invincible, like Hank." And that's just fun. Carol's got some more touch-ups to do. And so her and Lady Fair leave. A little kiss. And then Spider-Man 3 coming out, y'all. And then Carol and Simon play a game of pool or billiards. And she's just wanting to make sure his intentions are pure. There's a ad for Spider-Man 2.1, which I love that edit. And it came with a technical commentary track that I just fell asleep to almost minutes into starting it. And so, it was 2007, so huh, 7 years after high school. So I must have been at university by then, and there's just be some sleepless nights where I just needed sleep and turn that commentary on, and boom, night night for the Johnster Monster. Carol added a cape to Lady Fair's costume, so she's full hero mode now. This is during Civil War, and so there's a big party going on to welcome a new hero, and we get Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, which you can follow along on TikTok and YouTube at Jacko SIII. As I'm gonna Saturday, I'm gonna upload a mini review of the comic, and then Sunday I just do the pure cover and images of Kitty Pryde. So that's something to look forward to. It is an incredible night. Perhaps it's a cliche to say that anyone who was anyone was there, but that was pretty much the case. I mean, Kitty Pryde was there. I mean, that's all you need. It wasn't often that the Avengers threw an all-out bash, and certainly celebrating the anniversary of Captain America joining the team was a wonderful opportunity. That was long before the dark days of the Civil War, the Registration. This was back when heroes were brothers united side by side. Oh, maybe this is a dated. There's a corner box on the cover promoting World War Hulk, and I think that definitely came after Civil War. And I'm trying to place where it would have been in the X-Men stuff, but the X-Men were involved in Civil War for a little bit. A sense of color filled the air. We were the good guys, and there were no shades of gray, simple black and white, good and evil, which I guess is a callback to the premise of the pot or the series. We get Spider-Man and Daredevil and a rare Daredevil sight gag. Me join the Avengers? Oh, come on. Can you really see me joining the Avengers? Can I see you joining? No, but that's just me. Oh, right. Poor choice of words. Sorry. Whoa, I'm tingling. Your spider sense? Yeah, that too. Check out the Gora Wonder Man. She has a very nice pulse. And it's like, what? Like, I know it's play for laughs, but oof. 2007 was a different time. Then we see Lady Fair meeting Captain America. That's nice. Beast and Carol chatting. She's in her Warbird outfit. But going by Miss Marvel, which feels like an odd time, an era. And then we get Thor asking Lady Fair if she would like to touch his hammer, which seems very inappropriate. And then we see Jewish characters, Justice and Kitty talking to each other. So that's fun. No fire star though at this party. And so Cap's like, so she's your reclamation project? Yep, that's her. She seems charming still. Still what, Cap? Well, surface appearance doesn't mean much. It's just what's inside someone that counts. Where it's like, yeah. And then the jerk who's controlling Lady Killer is communicating through a chip in her tooth, and he wants her to kill all the Avengers, and she's just like, I don't want to do that. And then Wonder Man sees that she's distracted and wants to get her back in the moment and starts dancing with her. I was such an idiot, so self-absorbed, so proud not to, of who on herself, but of my handiwork. I was showing her off. I wanted all eyes on her, but on me with her. I should have seen it coming. I should have, but I didn't. Add here with some spider webbies that say, "What would you do one more day?" Like, oof. Ronnie, you can go back and tell them that they're about to bury themselves in a thing that almost 20 years later, Spider-Man still hasn't recovered from it financially. Well, financially, he's fine because that MCU Spider-Man Sony partnership has made Spider-Man quite the moneymaker. So, Lady Killer is going around fighting all the heroes, which seems like there's any number of these people who could have she could have confided in and been like, hey, so I guess they're listening, but honestly, I'm trying to get to the hero page and be like, is there no one there? I guess I could have named the heroes. So She-Hulk's there, Justice, Thor, Doctor Strange. I mean, Strange right there. Put her in a uh dimension where everything's fine. Daredevil, Captain Marvel, the boy one, the son of the boy one, Jenny, for you Captain Marvel heads, which makes sense. Peter David writing this. Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Cyclops is there, though you never see him again. The Fantastic, oh, I already said that. And Logan and Kitty Pryde, and maybe Dr. Druid, and Captain America's there. Oh yeah, Cyclops is definitely there. Oh, Luke Cage made it, and Wasp, Iron Man. I mean, heck, Kitty Pryde could have put her hand through her tooth and then taken that chip out, and boom. Anyway, so she's fighting, and then she finally pulls her own dagger and stabs herself in the chest. Which, I mean, I hate to see it, but it's also like, really? That does not seem necessary. So she dies. Her final words are, head of, wait, you're nothing. I'm too good at this. Sarayon, it was Saralon. He was behind it all. Head of an assassin group, the nobility. He can control minds. And then Daredevil says, she's telling the truth. Trust me on that. Oh, no, her final words are, I didn't want to disappoint you. This way I didn't. Remember honor, remember me, remember. At that moment I was certain I could feel her soul pass through me, and there was a sense of peace. Then Captain America Fallen Sun minis are coming out because this is literally post Civil War and pre World War Hulk. It was not a sense that I shared. I hurled towards the continent in no time flat and smashed into Sarion's office. There I found that whatever Sarion's mind control powers might have been against a group of angry assassins, it's nothing, nowhere near enough. And Sarion is super dead. Wrapping this whole thing up tight. Remember me. That answers the question right there, doesn't it? She needed her sacrifice to mean something, and if no one remembered it, then it meant nothing. Except, I'm immortal. I'll always be around to remember Huon, to remember all of them. Instead of dwelling on the fatality of great deeds because no one's around to recall them, I should instead be thinking about the awesome responsibility that's given to me because I am able to recall them. That's what my fair superhero was saying to me. That I had the honor of being around to remember great deeds, spectacular wins, and harrowing failures. It's not just that I will never die, it's that because of me, they will never die. And some time has passed, so he goes from short hair to long hair. And every year I will come to this place, to this great wall, and I will light the watchtowers. Every year on the anniversary of Lady Fair's passing, To remember that this wall was built as a means of defense, as those heroes were defenders. And to remember that sometimes even the most formidable walls, like the walls we build around ourselves, can be overcome. If someone is just willing to look at it and wonder what's behind it. And I'm pretty sure he's never gone back to this wall ever. Oh, by wall, he just means Chinese, the China's Great Wall, the Great Wall of China. So yeah, I don't know. So, anyways, Wonder Man Volume 3, number 5. Pretty great comic, besides a questionable Thor exchange. But Kitty Pryde in it? I mean, honestly, that's all we really need. That's all I ever want. And odd choice though. Like, I guess maybe it was the astonishing team minus Emma Frost. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, right? Cyclops, Beast, Wolverine, Kitty. Yeah, that probably explains what they're doing there. Oh man, we just did some contextual clues. Um, so the Wonder Man TV show, I really liked the show. I reached out to my actor friend Nick Dosto, the co-host of the Action at Why Are You Watching podcast, to get his views on the acting that is portrayed. Um, he was going to start it, but I haven't heard back from him. But that's okay. I don't know that many actor guys. If you're an actor, comment below what your thoughts were. I'd love to hear them. Yaya Badu Mateen the second is great as Simone Willems. I love how they work in the Haitian elements into the character. Starts off very unlikable, which had to be on purpose. He was also Black Manta in the two Aquaman movies. Fun to see Ben Kingsley back as Trevor Slattery. I was hooked by the Doorman episode, which was episode 4. We've gotten Mr. Immortal and She-Hulk, so Great Lakes Avengers movie win. Um, and can you imagine Dinosaurs next? One of my favorite GOA members. Episode 6 might be my favorite, the little adventure they go on before the big audition. But yeah, pretty fun series. 8 episodes and it moves pretty quickly. I mean, I will space stagger them out just a bit. Um, and then the current comics, we get to Magik and Colossus 1, and I simply love this comic so much. If any X-Men needed a redemption arc, it is Colossus. Ashley Allen, German Barata, Arthur Helsey, and VC's Ariana Maurer brought me my favorite comic of 2026. Well, until X-Men United gives it a run for its money. Issue opens with Colossus having a bit of a nightmare. Once again, Ileana tells Peter that she hates the snowflake nickname, but it sticks this time, which I really appreciate. Nightmare ends with Colossus in a grave of his great loves of his life. Kitty Pryde in her exceptional outfit, which I like. Domino, huge shout outs for remembering her. Nightcrawler, so his Night Excalibur crew. A guy in a trench coat who I believe is Black Tom. Then two lady skeletons I didn't recognize. Though Blue Sky and Great Follow, Project Legacy X informed me that the blonde with the headband is Kayla from the like Crowan era, and that's clearly who it is. But I wasn't sure who the other woman was. It wasn't Nirel, the Savage Land lady, who has a son named Peter, which was too much for Piotr to try to connect those dots. And definitely wasn't Saji from Secret Wars either, the first one. Kalash is being hunted by some magical threats in Russia, which seems like what he should be doing is going to ghost towns instead of currently habited farms as people are getting hurt. Magic finally locates him. She hasn't seen him since the Hellfire Vigil, and they do a quick catch up. I do like how this comic hits the highs of Colossus and that he will be one to make the sacrificial play and break a neck if he has to. More on that later. This does feel like Magic's ongoing, but now with 100% more Colossus. I do like how this first issue opens with a dream sequence, just like Magic's first issue. Also, we saw a dead Kitty Pryde there too. So I'm not sure why Ashley Allen, why are you always having Herman Peralta do this to Pride Nation? They go back to their parents' farmhouse, and it's so charming that Pietro immediately starts thinking that he can live here again with magic. Like, buddy, that hasn't been her home in years. And I'm sure wherever she tries to conjure a childhood memory, it always, always gets tainted by her thoughts immediately going to limbo soon after. That or her parents were murdered there while she hid under a bed, scared out of her teenage mind or pre-teenage mind. They come across a child who freaks out. Colossus is covered in blood. Magic makes Colossus more presentable, but at the cost of his gorgeous beard. This is my sole criticism of the issue. Why did we have to lose his beard? We learned the current threat is Lady Midday. She is, of course, has a bigger boss. There's always a bigger fish. A proper legend, which is a fun pull. We learned the current threat is Lady Midday allows Magic to defeat her in the first round, as now she knows Ileana's strengths, of which she has many. To combat her fully, she creates four elemental versions of herself. I'm such a sucker for elemental threats. We get Earth, Wind, and Fire with water. Wind immediately takes Magic's breath away and has a verbal spellcaster prevents some moves on Magic's part. Magic comes up with a plan. Colossus makes for good bait. They want him anyway. She essentially gets the elements to take each other out. Lady Midday arrives to taunt them, and Colossus is just done. Colossus riptides Lady Midday. Magic sees her magic signature float away, but allows Colossus to think he got this win. Issue ends with the big bad, and the editorial page refers to him as the Immortal. I imagine we'll learn more about him next issue as we go to St. Petersburg. But what a great comic. I just love this. And I wrote a letter in being like, hey, you should call the letter page like Sword and Sorcery, but call it Steel and Sorcery. But I imagine they're not gonna use that. But it'd be cool if they did. Also I had to write a letter because I'm just like, if I want to buy every issue of a series, I might as well send letters in, right? Like I'm not gonna because sometimes I write a letter to X-Men, adjectiveless X-Men, and just be like, oh, I love this, and then don't get the next couple issues. So 2026, I am just gonna buy all those issues anyways, because Magic's bound to be in them, and if she's not, then just kick them over to Walker. But she's usually on covers, or at least on the covers I'm buying. So anyways, I had to write a letter. So let's see if that gets printed. Um, Uncanny X-Men Volume 623. It has been so long since we got a bedtime short, since Uncanny X-Men 153 to be precise. Marcus is telling his daughter, Chelsea, a rawhide kid story. Cal later starts listening and then joined by the Outlier Boys. Like Uncanny 153, Marcus eventually works in the Outliers. I can't tell if Becca's horse is Ember Gray, but I like to think he is. Marcus has to include them as the Sentinel Dog ate some of the pages, and this has a vintage comic, so I don't love that. But Marcus has to know that Becca has a horse, right? Like he gives all the um Outliers horses in the story, but her horse looks very pale, so I'm like, I don't think that's Ember. Meanwhile, the Uncanny X-Men are confronting Gambit about the Eye of Agamotto he got from Salyurdang, the dragon. Gambit bit Rogue, which isn't okay unless she got consent, which he clearly didn't. He starts attacking them, which is cool to see him hold his own against the team, but I'm sure everyone's holding back. Then Elsa Bloodstone shows up with her mummy companion. I do like the idea that not every hero should know every other hero. Lois and Rogue was the one that called her by the wrong name. Though I suspect Logan should know her. Bloodstone and her Legion of Monsters, Man Wolf, or Werewolf by Night, Black Lagoon Guy, Mummy, Frankenstein's Monster, and Morbius have captured Jubilee. They don't love the idea that the X-Men are getting their own mini mall, but if the city's handing out things, they want the entire city. So this should be a pretty thrilling arc. Then we get to Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant #1. Good launch of a series, tells you everything you need to know. With the Earth part of the title, I did think this would be more grounded adventures, but Mirella Adiodel is committed to the epic story that Storm deserves. Joining him is Exceptional's Federicia Mansion, who gets to draw some amazing visuals. Storm's having to deal with a blue god on a rogue planet, a cousin of Ego, actually. Meanwhile, in a subplot I was really enjoying, you meet a dude who's very unlikable, and then he gets what is coming to him, and now Sorcerer Supreme Wanda's involved. If you want to make her a new position important, you have to get her out there. So that makes sense to me. Storm had some high adventures, and issue ends with Wanda confronting Storm, which is awkward as they're both Avengers. So good launch. Wolverine Volume 815. I love the previous issue so much, and this issue just builds upon that. I like how these mutants are going by new Morlocks, so a pair of old Morlocks come out to teach the sad legacy of being a Morlock. You will always be hunted and most likely killed. I like Silver Sable and Logan drinking for an hour. I guess they didn't talk about Kurt at all during that time, as it looks like the two of them are about to kiss. I do worry that Marvel has completely forgotten what Uncanny Spider-Man, but we mustn't. I like Silver Sable just being in this arc. Inspector Metha shows up. I want to like her, but she's taking Canada's side instead of listening to reason. I like how she makes it clear that only the new Vindicator wants to fight out of the Alpha Flight that shows up. Which would be Puck, Snowbird, and Marina, who are very hesitant, but they're on a work release program, so they don't have much choice. Neither does Logan for what he has to do. Heather and Shaman both opted out of this mission. Logan tackles the first round, but Vindicator gets a win over Silver Sable, who must be holding back. Logan confronts Inspector Metha and she pushes the button that brings Logan down. Ultimate Wolverine 14. Issue opens with a young Ilyana who has been running for days, months, years. She doesn't know. She refers to her captor as the Inside Man. He finds her and guides her to her room. She sees future versions of herself and realizes the Inside Man has one weakness, her. And like her father always told her, to win a fight, find a weakness. Inside Man might be the ruler of Limbo, but she's the one in control. The rest of the issue is Logan and Jean on the hunt for magic. He buys supplies of at a store who tells him about a camp up north. They find Ultimate Lady Deathstrike. Herd's the only mind Jean can't read. Once Logan defeats Lady Deathstrike, Jean can read her mind. She pulls a couple memories, one including magic torturing her. Issue ends with the reveal that Jean has narrowed it down to 20 locations. Hopefully they're close to each other, or these two are going to have to walk far and wide for answers. And then on Ultimate Endgame 2, Magic appears on the credit page but isn't seen this issue. I saw a lot of reviews of like recapping the show, the issue, and saying Iron Lad discovers something, and I'm like, oh, I was so checked out of this, I didn't even realize he had realized something. So I don't know. They'll get me back in once Magic shows up, but I am regretting pre-ordering any of these books. And then they're not even gonna end the Ultimate Universe. It might get reborn in a way, and it's just like I fell for the marketing. I imagine Walker's gonna get all these comics, but she'll show up eventually. Planet of the Apes versus Fantastic Four 1. This is exactly what you want from a FF Apes crossover, including, of course, Apes getting FF powers, as that's obviously going to happen. Oh, and Doctor Doom showing up. But yeah, I mean, it's good Fantastic Four comic. It's a good Planet of the Apes comic. It's just the two properties coming together. Speaking of properties that should come together, Ghostbusters and Scooby Doo. Like, honestly, we haven't gotten that yet. Like, Lego Dimensions makes that possible, but like if they go by the real Ghostbusters, which in my mind is always what I think of when I think of Ghostbusters. My favorite version of the characters is that animated series, and how each of them have their own color code. I'm like, oh man, that's exactly what Scooby Doo would be. Like Daphne being a pink and or a purple, and Velma being an orange, Shaggy and green with brown ass accents, and Fred in a white version with like blue accents, I imagine. And then, of course, Ghostbusters driving the mystery machine, and Scooby Gang driving Echo One. Like it's just like there's story elements that just write itself. You know, Scooby hanging out with the Ghostbusters, Slimer, the Scooby Gang, the Slimer Gang. Oh yeah, literally, I can see issue 3 called Scooby Gang, Slimer Gang. I don't know. I don't know who will write. I mean, I can imagine it had to be DC Comics, right? Because they have Scooby Doo. And Ghostbusters is a Sony property. Oh, I might just figured it out right there, everyone. Like Sony has a deal with Disney, Marvel, and they're not going to work with Warner Brothers. We figured it out, y'all. Oh no, but we're getting DC Superman Spider-Man crossovers. I don't know. I think they're missing an opportunity here. Oh no, but they probably got someone like Dymatic Comics or someone with the Ghostbuster property. I don't know. Or IDW. Because I know they had Ghostbuster at one point because of the Ninja Turtles. Godzilla Infinity War. This comic has Godzilla getting notified. Avengers of Spider-Man minus Storm are on the way. Guardians are there. Black Bolt shows up. Fantastic Four try to convince Galactus to help. The X-Men get mentioned as they're rushing to help the Shi'ar. Seems missable, but I'll keep track in case we see the X-Men get involved. Magik was part of the original minis, so I imagine she'll appear eventually, if any do. In the next week's comics, we get Ultimate X-Men 24, should be the final issue. Cyclops 1 and Wade Wilson, Deadpool. So, um, and then I'll be picking up my issue 44s again, so that'll probably be the leading comic. And then our top 10 list of 2026. Gail Simone retweeted my list, which I'm like, oh, Gail Simone. Tom Brevoort retweeted a couple of my Blue Sky. Which if you only follow me on YouTube and the website Shadow and Flame of Magic, thank you so much. But on Blue Sky, I write some comic book reviews on Sundays. Pretty much are very quick versions of the podcasts, but with some visuals and some, interactions with some Blue Sky homies and gals and pals. And don't forget the baby boys. I make references to a kid who doesn't even watch the show, but one day I like to think future Walker D being like, oh man, there's just hours of my dad talking to a computer. I'll watch every other episode, or maybe 10 minutes here and there. I don't know. Whatever happens. But buddy, I love you. So, anyways, top 10. Magik Colossus number one. Expect to see that just topping the charts. Avengers Volume 934 for that Sweet Kitty Pride page. Wolverine Volume 815. What I did in 2025 was just add the next issue. Like I think Exceptional X-Men in 2024 got on the list twice because Lockheed was on one episode in issue 10, and then I just did issue 13 separately. But and ideally the top X-Men list will eventually just be top 10 Lockheed appearances. But often Marvel doesn't want to give me 10 Lockheed appearances, so we'll just see how it works out. Usually it's definitely a Magic and Kitty Pride love fest, which I'm all for. Number three, Wolverine Volume 815. I just love this arc so far. Uncanny X-Men Volume 823. Not enough Calicchio and Ember. Give me my X bets. Well, I didn't even mention in the issue Gambit had one of his cats in his coat, like he was gonna eat the cat later, or the cat was rabid. You don't eat a rabbit cat, right? Or a cat? Rogue One, that number five. X-Men Volume 724. Seven Storms Earth's Mightiest Mutant 1. Eight Inglorious X-Force 1. And then number nine, Ultimate X-Men 23 with Ultimate Wolverine 14. Which with more magic coming out, I imagine Ultimate Wolverine 14 or is gonna top Ultimate X-Men, but I don't know. I'm checked out of the Ultimate Universe, y'all. Like it's not for me. If it ever was. Well, it was when Ultimate Sprite was around. They had me then. And Ultimate Sprite's going to be on the cover of Ultimate Wolverine 16, so they got me back. Plus his magic arc, I might as well finish it. Um, but yeah, everyone, that was episode 215. Follow me on socials at Jackos SII. Follow the podcast at SNFWM with the and spelt out on Instagram and Blue Sky, where I post the Sunday images from the comic. And I try to upload the short, but I think this one's going to be close to 3 minutes, and I don't think Instagram loves that format. But, gotta post something, right? So, thank you everyone for listening or watching, our dear YouTube friends. And I will talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening and watching if you're a YouTube. Oh, honestly, I gotta work on these outros. All right, everyone. Well, bye. Talk at you next time.